Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Candidates Night. My name is Pam Hett with Indivisible Cruces, so welcome to everyone. I want to just do a quick format so that you know what the format's going to be here. We're going to start after this welcome. So just so you know, all the candidates that were listed on the New Mexico Secretary of State's website as filing their petition for candidacy on August 26th were emailed on August 27th an invitation to participate in the candidate night. So we appreciate all the candidates who have shown up. If the candidates have literature, I'm back there. So we're going to start with the candidates for the Las Cruces Public School System, and Mary Brandon will be the moderator. And each candidate will have 3 minutes to make their pitch. Their accomplishments, their story, whatever they want to do. Then we'll have each moderator ask a question and give each candidate 2 minutes to answer that question. And we're going to have the candidates up alphabetical by district, so everybody's getting a fair shot. Then we're going to have a 10-minute break between sessions, and then I'll moderate the second part, which will be the Las Cruces City Council candidates. And we've got, we're going to try to keep it to 2 hours through 8 o'clock. We'll take our break at about 6:55 to 5 to 7, for 10 minutes, and then we'll start. So we're going to try to, depending on how many candidates have shown up, we'll have as many questions as we can do. Does that all make sense to everybody? And we're recording it on Facebook Live. We'll upload it to our YouTube channel. So if you've got friends who couldn't be here tonight and wanted to, see the candidates and get their information, they'll have that. Also, our wonderful timer. She's not Vanna, but she's our good timer, Jackie.
She knows how to tell time.
We'll be able to give the candidates a 30-second cue, so you'll know what your time limit is. So, with that, no further ado, Mary Brandon, please take it away.
Hi, everybody. If I could ask the school board prospective candidates to please come and have a seat. We have 2 handheld speakers. And if you can hold it like this, you know you want to spit it. I'm sorry. So I don't know what to say. Okay. I think I tried. Anyway, the way we're going to start this is we're going to have each one of the school board candidates. You've got a 3-minute time frame to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are, and we've got a timer over here. We'll give you that time. Is that microphone going to work for you? Thank you. Patrick Nolan, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Patrick Nolan. Thank you, Indivisible, for putting this all together. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I am the current school board member for District 1, so just to sort of orient yourself, sort of where Alameda is, Mayfield High School, Legends West neighborhood. That is District 1. And I was appointed to this seat 2 years ago, and then decided to run for election 6 months or so after that. So here I am, asking for another 4 years to do the work that we've been doing in Las Cruces Public Schools. And I'm motivated and I want to do this for a few different reasons. One, I'm a father. My daughter is wrapping her senior year up at Las Cruces Public Schools. Internally grateful for the support and just the all-around experience that she's had in public schools, specifically Las Cruces Public Schools. My mother was a teacher in the future of public schools, so the stories that she told and the students that she worked with certainly inspired me. I almost did education in college, but I wanted to get out and it would have required like another year of college, so I left with my history degree, which didn't really do much for me, but here we are. And I think what we've really been able to do with Las Cruces Public Schools, we have a lot of work to do, right? We all know the rankings, we all know that narrative. And I think hired the superintendent 2 years ago, 2, 3. He is starting his 3rd school year. And so what we've really been able to do is really put some systematic improvements into our public schools. How are we doing instruction? How are we training and supporting our teachers? We're leading into CTE, providing new pathways for students. We're emphasizing the mental health needs for our students. And so there's a lot of really great work happening, and we have a lot more work to do. And I'm excited to continue that work for the next 4 years. What's my timer?
You've got 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. So I think there's a, I want to just put a pitch with my last 30 seconds to support my colleagues here, Pam and Bob. We make a really great team. We're doing really good work. And I think it's important to keep that team together, to keep us on our goals, and keep us on the good path that we're on. So, and I'm already on post, so I can do that kind of stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Our next candidate is coming from the District 2, the central area, Pamela Court. Please.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. As Mary said, my name is Pamela Court, and I represent District 2, which basically goes down just right down the center of town. We've got Tomball Elementary School all the way to Parker Elementary School, just smack dab down the middle. That's better, probably, you can hear me. So I am also currently serving a 4-year term, and I am really anxious to be reelected so that we can continue to do the good work that we are doing. I was educated in public schools. Both of my children attended Tomball and Las Cruces High School and are now productive, wonderful human beings. Makes me super happy. So I was trying to remember some details about my campaign 4 years ago, and I Googled myself, as one does, and I found an article that said, the title was Pamela Court Wrong for School Board. And I was like, oh, what does that say? And so here's what it says. I am for equity and diversity in schools. And that I support policy JPD, which by the way is our gender inclusive schools policy. It also states that I put community ahead of curriculum and that I, and I'm going to quote here, want to be touchy-feely and make sure our children understand other people before they begin to formulate the basics. So, what this individual feels makes me the wrong choice, I feel makes me completely the right choice. So I know and I understand, because I was a classroom teacher for 31 years, that if a child's basic needs are not met, they cannot learn. I believe in equity, because every child needs something different in order to succeed. And I believe that targeting students because they are LGBTQ+, is just sad and petty. Every single child deserves a quality education where they feel safe, heard, and appreciated for the beautiful beings that they are. Being in the classroom, I learned firsthand what our students, teachers, and families need to succeed. And it was that experience that led me to serve on this board for the last 4 years. And you all have entrusted us, our board, with this mission. And that is to advocate for our students and to build a stronger and more resilient school district. We've made significant progress, but as Patrick said, our work is not done. I'm running for re-election to continue the work. We will move forward together by forging connections within our community and within our school districts so that all students thrive. And I will also give a little pitch to support my colleagues, Patrick Nolan and Robert Walker. They're amazing, and we are a really great team. Thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Pamela. Thank you, Pamela. And now for our next candidate, a gentleman by the name of Paul Parr. He told me, Jack Parr. We met early in the evening, and he is running for the District 3 school board. And if you could, you've got a 3-minute time frame to tell us who you are, sir.
Remain seated.
I don't care.
Don't care.
Can you be seen on the screen?
Hand on my paperwork.
Can he be seen on the screen?
grammar school phys ed teacher. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. He was in Williamsville, New York. I was he coached baseball and basketball at the high school in Williamsville. My mom taught at an all-black school in Lackawanna, New York, 5 blocks from where we grew up. I can go on and on and on. My 2 older sisters are teachers, 4th grade and 1st grade, and then counselor. I'm a librarian. I've had a year of law school at Gonzaga, the Zags in Spokane, Washington, 12 months. I became a librarian. I got my MA from the University of Denver in Denver, Colorado, of course. A 12-month program. I've taught at I've been a librarian in all kinds of libraries, Argonne National out West and Idaho Falls. Just part of the University of Chicago, working for the Department of Energy. We had 3 active nuclear reactors on site. I was the librarian, the technical librarian for 700 people, 50% PhDs. I can go on and on. I love kids. I don't have any, which can be an advantage. Blank slate. I swim at the new center, what they call net. When the place is packed with kids, I just go bonkers in love. And now with the law school education, I'd love to get political, but perhaps not. But it does involve children. I can make some political comments about children and the United States. I spent 13 years on and off in Thailand. I was recruited as the Therese, their pioneer English-speaking librarian at Kasetsart University in Bangkok, Kung Tep. And I was recruited at, quote, a career fair in Greeley, Colorado, the University of Northern Colorado, by 3 Ajahns, Thai Ajahns, 3 women. Ajahns are professors. I became a professor. I've taught at 4 or 5 universities in Chiang Mai, English conversation. Then that pioneer English-speaking librarian, I created a small library for 135 rich kids who come to school in Beamers and Porsches and Benzes. It was supposed to be a 2-year contract, but only lasted a year because I ended up training my assistants. So they were paying me better money than any American school would pay me as a librarian. So they more than likely just used the Thai woman that was my assistant. I speak Thai and Lao, which is the same. I don't read and write as well. Anyway, so I'm a very diverse character. I'm an athlete. I love kids. I can't even say how much I love kids. So that's what it's all about, the kids. I'll do whatever. And I can go a little political on that, but I got a silly question because I have a big sense of humor. Where are the kids? The kids are what it's all about. Their innocence is beautiful. The best teachers, and I'm done with this sentence, the best teachers are K through 4.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm
I've been
enjoying
trying.
this time. No,
Muchas gracias y time bakumaka.
Very good. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. I did. Bob Wolford is with District 3. He is the local candidate, I believe, as the rest of the folks have said. You're currently on the board.
Yes.
And please introduce yourself. Tell me who you are, sir.
Very nice to meet you all. I am Bob Walford. I was elected to the school board 4 years ago. And 2 years ago, if you had asked me if I was going to run again, I probably would have said, my gosh, this is so much work. But having served the 4-year term, I figured out, this is so much work, but we are doing good things in Las Cruces Public Schools. And the learning curve is over. That first 2 years of a wash of things over you. And so I feel like we're making great progress, and I'm eager to serve another 4-year term. You may have seen me stumble when I was getting up because I was bitten by a rattlesnake about a month ago. We relocated the rattlesnake to a nice arroyo where he could eat rats, but I am here to stay. I was a teacher at Las Cruces High School for 34 years, retired in 2017, and was happy to miss COVID as a teacher, but actually continued to consult for the College Board during those those years as well, teaching into laptops with teachers across the globe. And so I've had my hand into education for over 40 years. And as a teacher, I have that perspective that what happens in the classroom is most important. That we have if we pack too many kids into a classroom to save and have some fancy program over here, we have made a mistake. That the bottom line of where education happens is with the teacher in the classroom. So, outside of the classroom, I was the Amnesty International sponsor for 30 years. I sponsored the Gay Straight Alliance for about the last 10 years of my teaching. I am the first openly LGBTQ member of the school board. And so I wish I had Googled myself and found what Pam did. That was brilliant. And so I was also very happy to be on the school board that passed the gender inclusive policy. As a teacher, I had a Fulbright exchange. Oh my gosh, give me the 30 seconds. I'm hardly cleared my throat because I was going to talk about the focus on students that we need to do, and I have more time to do that. The empowerment of teachers that is vital to make our district and our kids succeed and the kids to thrive. The inclusion of community members, the transparency and pulling people into the budget process, and finally the policies that are vital that the school board makes. Like my colleagues on the school board, I suggest you vote for Patrick, who doesn't have an opponent, he needs some people there, and then Pam and I have some opposition. So we appreciate talking to your friends about our candidacy. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you. Excellent, excellent. All right, well, the next step of this session is each one of you are going to be asked the same question. You're going to have 2 minutes from the time they start answering to answer the questions. And I'm going to my first question needs a little education because it's got educator ease in it. Okay? And a lot of us, I haven't been in a classroom in a long time, so I'm looking up stuff on Google and going, oh my God, they're doing this now. The first question, it has to do with discipline. And let me talk about something called the social emotional learning curriculum and what is being presented to our schools and our teachers. And one of the things in that curriculum is something called restorative justice. Okay, that's a strange phrase, but good educators come up with strange phrases. Restorative justice is considered best practices for discipline of students. Instead of the way I was disciplined growing up, a little more punitive and that kind of thing. So they're working on, and this is a piece of the curriculum that they want to present, that many schools are taking a look at, or school, the whole system is looking at. And my question here, how do you view restorative justice practices? How do you personally review them? How do you believe these strategies? What do you know about them? Give us some background on this discipline, because this is a different type of discipline technique. And I'm going to ask Patrick, please, and then Pamela, and then Paul, and then Bob, if you can. And I'll repeat the question each time. So, what are your views on restorative justice?
Thank you for that question. I think there's this underlying principle, right, that every child is worth resources, every child is worth support. And I think that's really the underpinning of restorative justice, right? Making sure that we are giving every single child, every single student that is enrolled in Las Cruces Public Schools a chance to succeed. And I think that means something different for each child, right? So we talk a lot about meeting them where they're at. When I think about restorative justice, I think a social worker, right, in every school that's offering guidance and counseling to those students. I think about teachers that are trained in social emotional learning, so that they know, because the reality of public schools, right, is that these kids are going to come in with all sorts of baggage, right, for lack of, that's probably not the best way to put it, right, but things that they are wrestling with in their life. And every single adult professional around them needs to know how to deal with that and how to help work them through that process. And I think that is what we're doing. That is what we're doing at LCPS, right? Is making sure that teachers are resourced in that, and the social emotional learning, and through trainings, through our professional learning communities, PLCs. Principals are emphasizing it. We're taking time during the summer to train the teachers and adults around these issues. So I think really just ultimately knowing that every child is worth it, every child needs that assistance is really that is a story of justice for me, right? Giving every child a chance to succeed and the resources they need to do it.
Thank you, Cameron.
You don't need to repeat it
What
unless you want
your
to.
views? Okay, tell us about restorative justice in your opinion, your views, please.
So, in my view, restorative justice is finding out the root cause of the problem, of the discipline issue. Kids don't wake up in the morning and decide that they are just going to wreak havoc on the world or be mean or do things spontaneously. There are events in their life, as Patrick said, they come with a lot of trauma. And so and it was always my philosophy in my classroom, if you send a child to the office or if you suspend a child, it's not discovering what the root problem is, what the root cause of that discipline is, or that problem, that discipline issue. And so, if you have a conversation, if you sit down with a child, no matter what age, and say, hey, you are acting out and we're doing these things, please tell me what's going on. It allows the child to figure out where all of those emotions are coming from. Part of social emotional learning too is sometimes in my classroom I would have different colored pencils and they would grab a pencil, red if they're feeling angry, blue if they're feeling blue, yellow if they're feeling sad, and then they would just leave it on their desk, and so I would know, or a kid would tell me before they would come into the classroom, I just can't participate today, I can't do it. And you honor those things because the kids are coming in with all of the feelings. And as Patrick said, every child deserves a quality education, and when we suspend them, what we're telling them is that they are not worthy of education. And so we want to tell everybody, you are worthy of being educated.
Paul, let me repeat the question. It's about restorative justice practice, which is a discipline type practice, instead of punitive like I got when I was a kid. What do you know about what are your views on this type of different approach for discipline?
Okay, thank you. I'm glad to say that I have taught. I'm a licensed teacher, K through 12 in language arts and libraries, internationally. I taught in Cortez, Colorado, 8th grade reading to the Ute-Mountain Utes. And I learned that the Utes have 4 bands in their Indian tribes. And the Ute-Mountain Utes, teachers talk about bad kids and good kids. Well, we all know that the kids are all good. Okay. And then it reminds me of whole learning, where if a child is, I can't think of the word right now, has a less ability between the ears to learn, we must incorporate that child into the classroom. That's whole learning, right? Not just special education. I was going to be a special education teacher, and I thought I ain't quite that special. But, okay, and so the whole child, and then just, kids, they just do what they do. They want to do what they do. For instance, if I saw a kid with a cell phone in the early days of cell phones, I had a rule in my class that there's no cell phones. And I remember a girl, I'd put a comic book behind the math book and fake that you're reading the math book. Well, this cell phone was behind, but I caught it. A good teacher, a bad teacher, time and they don't walk into the room. They stay at their lecture. But a good teacher in America walks around the room. Oh, there's a cell phone. Sally, give me the phone. I told you no phones. You can get it at the end, or you can get it at the principal's office. So that's a form of discipline there, restorative justice. Is that the term? Yeah. So that's a just thing to take away their cell phone. We're not running too much from the cell phone. That's all.
Pam said and what Patrick said, because it is about equity. When kids show up at the doorway, they are not all having had the same experience with the polysyllabic speech at dinner with two parents who have multiple incomes, what have you. The social emotional component that we put into our classrooms is critical, so that equity is not just, oh, you need some help in mathematics, we're going to give you extra help. It is recognizing that all kids have an opportunity to learn, that they start and come from different positions where they, just as they arrive at school, and we have to recognize that when kids walk into our classroom, we take them from all those different positions and try to have them grow as much as possible. Social emotional learning is absolutely critical in our schools right now. Post-COVID, kids came out of a malaise. Kids were so fragile, having lived through the COVID learning experience and then the post-COVID. When I would talk to fellow teachers, they would talk about the fragility of the kids at this point and trying to get through to them and just assure them on a baseline, you are valued, what you have experienced is valid, and yes, you have an emotional trauma, and not talking about it and recognizing it is a mistake. And restorative justice also involves, the 40-minute answer is not going to work, but restorative justice involves putting kids in charge and having them work with each other to figure out what is just, what is equitable in different situations where some discipline issue has happened in a classroom, and putting it back into the kids' hands so that they can work to have an equitable solution rather than coming down from above. Do I get to keep the microphone, please?
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. And did we do the time well? Are we doing this good?
Yeah. I'm just saying, if they answer before I
I don't
do.
mean to be intrusive, but
Okay, good. I'm going to go back to the same, I have another question for you. This one has to do about attendance issues. And not just attendance of students, but also certified staff. It's kind of it's two type of questions here. What's your strategy? Do you believe that we, as a school district, effective in improving student attendance, especially the challenges that the chronic absenteeism? It's so huge in our school district, in our state. I do believe that I've seen the numbers. And then there's another issue about staffing. What are the challenges in trying to retain and recruiting high-quality educators and keeping them in the classroom? So we've got chronic absenteeism on students, and then we've got the chronic ability, how do we get the most qualified teacher and keep them? So what are your ideas as a board member when you feel you can come up with what ideas you're working with to help, especially the absentee? Who's going to go first?
I would love to.
There you go. You take a risk.
Chronic absenteeism is an incredible nationwide program. It's up to 30, almost 40% absenteeism, which means a kid has missed 10 days in the school year. And so we have formed a task force. It's one of our main goals at LCPS to address this issue. And Kathy Beale is in charge of that. We have 20 interns who are social work students working on parent contact, home visits, talking with kids about the causes of absenteeism. Because if you take a punitive model and say, you were absent, we're going to kick you out of school. That's what I wanted, thank you. That is not going to work. What we need is to find the root causes of the absences and pull kids back in, let them know they're valued and that they are respected in the classroom, that we have something that is vital for them to learn, and we value them as individuals. As to your question about retaining teachers, in the last 4 years, we have made substantive gains in teacher salaries and the treatment of work relationships with teachers in our district. Thank you, legislature. A lot of it comes from Santa Fe. But our salaries have now come to a point where people are not bailing out of Las Cruces in New Mexico because the salaries were so much better in other states. also emphasize this board has making sure the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement that we have, is one of mutual respect with teachers, so that when you feel that your voice is heard in a classroom, the money is vitally important. I have to pay the electric bill as a teacher, but when you know that you're part of the decision making, that makes a world of difference as well. And thank you for letting me go first.
Paul, would you like to go with this one? Is it okay?
Sure,
We'll
sure.
take it right out of order and we'll just do it our way, okay?
It reminds me of the non-youth camp, teaching 8th grade reading, which was a migraine a week. And the nurse told me, well, take an ibuprofen, I preferred Naproxen vinegar. Yeah, the kids, they, as you were saying, they almost welcomed being expelled, so that they could go hang out at the CD store rather than be in school. So it's a tough one. And an 8th grade reading class in Cortez, Colorado, teaching mountain youths, and there were some Navajos and a couple of white kids. And I had an assistant teacher, a good cowgirl. The classroom had no windows, and I'd been in Thailand teaching. So I remember speaking to the principal at Starbucks, halfway between Denver and, I was in Denver at the time, in Cortez. And he said, no windows, and you're teaching a foreign people. I said, that's fine, I've been teaching foreign kids. And I don't mind that, but he was correct, there's more stress that way. Anyway, and they were maybe a 6th grade reading level, some at 4th grade reading level. And yeah, it was a tough gig. And I love when I hear younger, say a college kid, university kid, wanting to be a teacher and educator, I suggest being a librarian, which I am for 30 years, all kinds of libraries. Bozeman Public for a year, the National Lab in Idaho Falls, Idaho State University as a student librarian, as a student teacher, getting licensed to teach in Pocatello. There were 3 librarians that worked at a library center, we called it, in Idaho Falls, not Pocatello. And so I describe being a librarian to teachers as the kid wants to learn. You walk into your library and you want to learn. So that's pretty neat.
Thank you, folks. Tamara, I guess you're next.
I guess.
They're handing the mic that way, I don't care.
Perfect. I don't have to have my eyes
And again, we're talking about chronic absenteeism and how do we attract the most qualified classroom teachers in STEM. Okay?
Exactly. And so I'll start with how to attract the quality teachers. I think that we're doing a great job in Las Cruces, and while we have been on the board, the teacher salaries have increased dramatically, so much so that Bob and I were like, man, maybe we should go back into the classroom. So we have very competitive salaries, and now we have a lot of teachers from Texas coming and wanting to work here rather than the other way around, which I think is fabulous. We also have, we cover 80% of the majority of our employees' insurance, and if they make under, I can't remember if it's 50 or 60,000, 50,000, we cover 90% of that, their insurance. And so those financial incentives, I think, are really important because for so long, teachers have not been paid well, which means that society doesn't value teachers, and so it's reciprocal. So that's exciting. And we have teacher mentors in the schools that help new teachers that are coming in. And we have a lot of great programs, and I think our district is doing a really great job. Right now, though, our chronic absentee rate is 30%. That means 30% of our students have missed 10% of the school year, which is significant because if they're not there, they can't engage and they can't learn. So what Bob said, absolutely, all of those things, and also the work that we're doing right now to make education for every student more purposeful. We have project-based learning, we have career and tech classes. We are bringing jobs to students so that they see the value in what they're learning and the purpose in what they're learning so that they can move forward and succeed.
last year, LCPS underwent our strategic planning process, and we have 6 major goals in that strategic plan. One of them is attendance, right? So I think it demonstrates like we are really looking at this issue really seriously and trying to figure it out. It is a tough nut to crack, and it has been something we have been struggling with since the post-pandemic, right? And this is countrywide, right? How are we getting kids into schools? And it's really much more pronounced at the high school levels versus the elementary, middle, and dabbles in attendance issues, but it's really pronounced at the high school level. And so like Pam said, really making sure that we have pathways and encouragement to get those kids into schools. So focusing on mentorship programs. We get a grant from the Public Education Department, and that funds like 15 social workers. Don't quote me on that number, but it's a good sized amount of social workers and so we're organized by feeder pattern, right? So each elementary to middle to high school, right? And that's how we're grouping everything. And so each social worker is sort of attached to a feeder pattern, right? And if a kid is missing school, they're calling, they're sending emails, and they're going to their home to talk to the parents, right? I think that's really we got to get folks out there and talking to parents. We have to create those other pathways, which is why I think focus on CTE, which we're just sort of really getting the ball rolling on that, is that other avenue for those children to get them to go to school. It might not be, but for some it is, right? Or maybe it's reading English, whatever, right? Just making sure that we have those options. And I also think we need to strengthen our after-school programming. I'm biased. In my organization, my job, we run after-school programming. After-school programming, I think, is a really big key that we are missing in LCPS that we need to do better at. And so that's something that we'll work to continue on. I think I'm out of time, but teacher, what they all said. I will say that we just got a report on this. Our teacher fill rate is their staffing rate is 98%. It's pretty high, right? We're doing really well, and we're doing better than other districts that are paying those same amounts, right? Gaston is paying that 50, 60, 70, but people want to work at LCPS because of the environment that we're creating.
Thank you. For our next question, and it's a little simpler, it's really about local control versus federal mandates. How do you balance this local importance of the local decision making with so much compliance between state and federal mandates? How do you balance that when you have to make a decision about something? Who wants to go first? Well,
Okay, yeah, no
go ahead.
problem. I love talking federal politics. So my first thought is, well, the money's coming from the feds. So maybe it can't be as simple as 50-50. Maybe it's going to be 60% feds and 40% Las Cruces or New Mexico, however it works. So the federal support is extremely important because that's where the word that came to mind is not good, but that's where the power lies simply because of the dollar sign. So we don't have to crawl on hands and knees, which I've seen done in Thailand. The students would crawl on their hands and knees to the president's overstuffed chair on stage to receive a paper award from the president of the lab school. And I was the librarian for the international program, which is part of the lab school. I mean, that's a pretty different culture when you're literally crawling to the president. Anyway, we don't have to do that to the feds, but you know what I'm saying? That kind of drift, it's very important. We have to. I don't want to say kowtow to them, but we have to. Anyway, we got to get some money from the feds. Basically, what I'm thinking.
And if you understand what you're saying, I guess in the way I'm asking the question, how would you balance making the decision? You have local control and federal. How would you personally make a balance when you're making
I see, yes. Much better question, yes. That's a tough one. As Patrick is saying, this after school stuff in Thailand, a Thai kid is a gifted mechanic, say motorcycles. So New Mexico and Las Cruces could balance it with some sort of after-school program. You know, we know they're all car nets and motorcycles, so we could balance it with an after-school program. For instance.
Well, and I do understand, maybe it's a little convoluted question. This came from several of my union member teachers saying, we want to find out the importance of local control over the state mandate or the federal mandate. How do you work with that? Boss, what are you saying? Go ahead. We're getting into this like that, sorry.
Thank you, Mary. The next 3.5 years are going to be difficult years in terms of federal monies that are coming. We're going to have a lot of difficult decisions to make here in Las Cruces about that. But it's always been local money and state money which has bolstered the federal mandates. For instance, the IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, back in 2004, funded our schools, and I think it was it 40% at that point, and it's down to 10 or 15% now. The federal mandates that say kids with disabilities deserve education, I absolutely support. That is true across the board, and we should provide an education that meets every student's needs where they can thrive. Now, we want the federal government to come through and say, and here is the money to do it. Local control is what education, that's federal. The states, by definition, have the design of creating their own education systems. And so our statute allows for local control. One of the things we're lucky about in New Mexico, in terms of as the federal dollars disappear for Title I or Title IV, what have you, and for individuals with disabilities, we have a $60 billion permanent fund right now that we are sitting on. And we may need in these next years to look at shifting the way we pay for things away from how they have traditionally been. So I think I almost answered your question, Mary. Yeah.
For me.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Please stop.
We're just going to pick on here. It's a good question, and it is a complicated question. I think the idea of local control for me is how are we putting the folks that are closest to the issues and understand those issues in a place to make decisions and move policy. That's a principle that I think that is local control for me. And when we talk about federal, the funding freeze that we all went through, or us as a school district went through 3 months ago, this is an attack on public schools, right? Let's not couch it as anything else. It is an attack on the institution of public schools, right? Withholding dollars dedicated to special needs students, dedicated to migrant students, dedicated to what's the third one? After school programs, right? These are just attacks on the institution of public schools. And so what we as a district need to do, and as a community and as school board members, I think, right, is really hold that line and making sure that we are defending those things, those good things that those federal dollars are funding, right? In building relationships with our local legislators, which we have done as a school board, right? And lobbying and making sure that local legislators know, hey, if these federal dollars go away, this is 10, 20 jobs that are going to leave our district that are serving special needs students, right? And making sure that we're telling those stories and being cheerleaders for these institutions, for our public schools, right? And making sure that they have advocates and that we can have those conversations with folks. And was there another element to that question?
Just the balance between the state mandates and the federal mandates.
I think it's holding true to our community's values and morals and making sure that those are represented on the board. And I think we do that with our policies on gender inclusivity, how we're treating migrant students. All of those things that we're doing at LCPS, I think we continue to do that and advocate for those at a local level and federal level as well.
Well, you're right now. Tell us how you're going to balance on that point.
I can't even balance my life, but
You're not doing well standing there yourself.
Exactly. boots on the ground, we are the ones that have the local control. And I lost a moment where I was going to go. Oh, you all. I was doing so well, and then here it is. Seriously, that's it. That's how we balance it. We just balance it because there are things that we have to do. But what we're doing as a school district is what's best for our students, and it's what's best for our community. And as Patrick said, to have the people closest to whoever we're serving, having that voice is so important. And so we do. And as a board, we work with the New Mexico School Boards Association. We give our recommendations to the state, but we are still following what it is and what's best for us. The balance, I guess, can be tricky, but I think we're doing a pretty good job. Sorry, I lost my mind for a moment.
Thank you very much. Okay, and I'm going to say, Patrick, this next one's yours. We're going to Patrick, Pamela, Bob, Patrick, this next one. Unless somebody volunteers. Okay. Next question, okay? And it has to do with curriculum and book freedom. Curriculum and book freedom. What is your perspective on parents and students' freedom to access diverse books and curriculum material? And how should schools handle challenges to instructional content when it comes to, I know there's some stuff out there that's saying that students shouldn't be contacted, shouldn't be accessing. I've heard some stories. With the curriculum and book freedom, because it is a freedom for the parents to make a decision and the students to have access. So I guess what is exactly my question to you? The perspective you have on parents and students having this freedom of access. How do you feel?
Well, if there is a body that has dealt with this issue, it is Las Cruces Public Schools. We went through a whole book banning campaign last year. I saw a PTSD from it. And let me just say that we help a lot, right? We knew that kids need to see books in their library that reflect who they are, what they dream of, what they think about, and how they feel about things. Those books need to be in those libraries, right? And it's not, no other outside group can make that choice for families or kids or parents, right? And that is, we have a policy on that, we have a rule on that. If you are a parent that objects to a specific book and you don't want your child reading that, you have every right to sort of say, hey, librarian, my child cannot check out that book. And that is fine. But we cannot make those choices universally for all students, right? And we have to stand by that. And we have, and did, and will continue to do so. And so I think, again, when we talk about these folks that are trying to remove these books from libraries, it is about attacking public schools, right? And I think that's the really important thing about being a local school board member is the work that we have to do to defend these institutions, defend the staff, defend the students, and the important work that is happening every day. A book ban is hateful and awful, and it's also an attack on the institution of public schools. So making sure that we are there and holding that line is really important. And I think in any given moment, it might be the most important thing we're doing as a school board member. So yes, we're great on it. We're good on that issue. In this round, I think we're probably good. So thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear your input on this one.
Thank you. It is interesting to me that traditionally a group of people who are very much for parent rights have decided that one parent can make the decision for all of them about which books they can read, which I just find, if I may say so, ridiculous. People are worried that we don't have a rating system for books. Yes, we do. It's the American Library Association. And we have our librarians who have been, this is their job, this is what they're trained to do, and they know and they understand. And keeping the books so that children can find themselves, can find a sense of belonging, it's so important. And who are we to make that decision for the children? The children are great at making that decision themselves. And as Patrick said, parents have tons of rights in the public schools. They can call the school and they can ask to put a note on on a student's account so that they can't, if they don't want them ever reading books by Judy Blume. There is a note on their file that says, don't let this child check out Judy Blume books. If there is something in the curriculum that a parent does not agree with, that parent can call the school, and the teacher must make changes, and must make changes for even that one child. And it's done all the time, every day. Parents have tons of rights. Let's leave all of the books in the library for the kids. And as I like to say, libraries save democracy.
Yeah, this is my bailiwick.
Okay, what's your perspective?
By
Just
two.
tell us.
Yeah,
You're a
by
librarian.
two educated, absolutely. For the last 30 years, in all different kinds of libraries. I've created libraries in different venues. So it ties in, of course, with the law also. The lawyer has a lawyer-client privilege, or what's the word? The only word that comes to mind is privacy, but it's another word. But what the lawyer and the client talk about is nobody's business but the lawyer and the client. Similarly, at the University of Denver Graduate School of Librarianship and Information Management, we have a tenet, T-E-N-E-T, a tenet as librarians. It's none of my damn business what Sally or Bobby want to read. They can walk in it, but when I grew up, we were reading Catcher in the Rye. That's a big old issue now. What? The librarian has no business whatsoever in the life of that child and what the child wants to read. It's similar, like I say, to the attorney-client privilege. You know, I mean, the kid can walk into my library, your library, this gentleman's library, and read whatever they, whatever they want. It's nobody's position to tell them they cannot read that book, period.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Rob, tell us.
I was an English teacher, as I told you before, and so I have taught banned books. When we have public comment during school board sessions, we sit with stony faces as people deliver the public comment, not applauding or disapprovingly looking at people. And so we have all sat through people coming and reading the quote-unquote naughty bits from books during public comment. And I can't help but smile. Books are windows and books are mirrors. Books allow kids to see beyond themselves as windows into distant lands and into other cultures and experiences. But a book that is a mirror validates its experience. Can you imagine how extensive the gay section was of Las Cruces High School Library when I was a student there in the 1970s? Yeah. No, I had to find those books somewhere else. And so there was an LGBTQ book challenge, and then they brought us a list of 100 other books that are just dreadfully bad, we are sure. And it wasn't that it was LGBTQ they protested, so I shouldn't be cavalier about this. They said that wasn't the reason. Sure. They said that wasn't the reason, but I knew that's exactly what is going on. This is just prejudice, plain and simple. The PICO decision that allows, requires schools to have a variety of books, not requires, but allows schools to have those books that parents cannot take out on their own. What Pam said about democracy. A single parent or a group of parents should not be dictating what other kids can read. We have procedures for parents who do not want their kids to read things, to not be allowed to read them. And so there are protections in place for them if that is their opinion. But there should be books available for all other students.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe I have a bunch of questions, but I'm not going to do them here. We'll talk later. Anyway, I'd like to turn this over to Pam because we're
Take a break. I think we'll take, 10 minutes?
Thank you very much for your answers. We really, really appreciate it. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and the candidates will be available to talk if you've got any questions. So let's reconvene at about 10 after.
Pamela, may I point out that I have some campaign literature.
Oh, yeah,
back.
yeah.
There's
There's
a link to my website where you can read extensively about my points.
Yes, please visit the table in the back that has the different candidate literature. Thank you. We'll reconvene in about 10 minutes.
Yes.
Camera on. I gotta throw a brag on you. I visited the Potala in Lhasa, Tibet. 11,500 feet, 1,000 rooms, the homes of the Dalai Lamas, all of the Dalai Lamas until the Chinese. The Chinese haven't destroyed it because of the kids. It's just basically the kids. That's basically it. Yeah, that's it. Oh, absolutely. I'm all about the kids, man. I mean, just the other day swimming, it was Friday, it was extremely crowded. And there was like kids, and it made my heart just
Well, they've been praying in the house all summer, and to do it with the teachers, because the teachers get the parents involved. It's a book on the parents.
And they're just teaching reading. I was still teaching for 7 years. We're also libraries. And my senior teacher, she's a master teacher, Shirley Liberty. She said to me, "Yeah, Paul, I didn't want to teach reading." She said, "I didn't want to teach reading." I said, "Well, it's English. It's not a language. It's not. It's more psychology. Teach reading and a book." Yeah, you gotta talk to somebody else.
like hot mic. Anxiety? Yeah. Oh, no, thank you. Oh, God, except I lost my mind for a second.
Hey.
How are you?
Yes.
You're at the application.
Yes.
I'll let you know. So you know.
What was put in?
Great job.
I gotta go to bed. Great job. I just all of that.
Facebook Live, huh?
Spiritual.
can you hear me okay? Yes, you can? Okay. Well, welcome to the Las Cruces City Council candidates. And I would like to start with Michael Harris, Isaiah Taliz, Becky Corman, Tommy Black, and John Munoz. And each one of them will start and will have their 3 minutes to give their pitch. Michael, would you like to start, please?
Sure, thanks. Michael Harris. I'm obviously here for City Council District 3. I was born and raised in Las Cruces, got my degrees from New Mexico State University. I found a small business in town soon after that, and we've been running that for 13 years or so, bringing some good high-paying jobs to the town. I'm really interested in how the city works and kind of how our built environment makes an impact on the 90% of our lives that we live and are directly impacted by in the city. Our streets, how we design our houses, how we have our social safety nets to help all of our people here that we can fund with the city. And so it's all very interesting to me. I have a very systematic mindset, and I kind of see the city as this giant organism that has a lot of different pieces, a lot of moving parts, that some of which we have control over as a city council, and some of which we don't. And so I really want to kind of drill in, focus on the things that city government has control over. Very uncertain times right now, but we can manage certain things, and we need to do that. We need to make good decisions, because stuff that we do now impacts the city for 30 years in the future, and our children and our grandchildren. So very important to govern on this local level. I think that we're at a critical time and want to do good things for the city.
Excellent.
Thank you. I'm Isaiah Tez, and I am running for City Council District 3. I'm actually born and raised here as well in Las Cruces. I went through the public school system, so I went through the local recreational programs here as well, which allowed me to fall in love with this community a lot every single day as I grew up. Actually, speaking of love, I found my love here. The love of my life, Isabel, she's actually back there, who's actually getting her doctorate degree. Thank you for being here. And I fell in love with the community through my family. My parents, I'm a multi-generational Las Crucian. I have my grandfather and my great-grandfather here. They were stationed here in the military. My father was a teacher here for many, many years before he ended up opening up his own local business. My mother, a social worker for the schools in the state of New Mexico too as well for many years, before she retired and started working at our family business too as well. I am actually a family business owner as well with my father, and I have been for 5 years, and I have been providing a lot of jobs too as well, a lot of high-paying jobs, and my job consists of moving people into our community. I'm a real estate agent, and I love to show off this community, and that is one reason why I'm running, is because the love for this community I feel like I can share with them. And the other thing that really pushed me to run was the tragic incident that we had recently at Young Park, which actually was in my district too as well. And so I am just very, very nervous for our youth. Our youth didn't get to experience the city that I got to experience growing up. The joy, the freedom, and now they're running around a little bit nervous because of different crimes that we have in our youth. So I really want to bring youth enrichment back into our community. And another thing that I really want to bring as a counselor is to support our small businesses too as well. And most of all, make sure that our local government listens to you guys. And make sure that we are always representing our constituents and not the ideas and ideals that we have, but the ideas and ideals that our community has too as well. So thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate it.
Excellent, Becky. Thank you.
I'm Becky Moran, City Councilor for District 5 of Las Cruces. If you live in Metro Verde, off of Roadrunner, Del Rey, Settlers Pass, I'm your City Councilor. I've been serving on the City Council for the last 4 years as the first queer City Councilor elected in Las Cruces. So I'm going to brag a little bit about what I've done and what I'm proud of, but I also want to say none of it is alone, and frankly, working with the city staff, who I'm sure some of you have encountered, they're extraordinary people doing great things every day. That's how these things have happened. But I am proud of some of the things that we've done to make Las Cruces more livable for everyone. That includes passing the most progressive zoning reform in New Mexico. We're now a leader in terms of zoning reforms. Albuquerque tried to do 1/10 of what we did with Realize Las Cruces, and they weren't able to pass it. And so I'm very proud that we did the work to understand what our community needs and be able to build all kinds of new affordable housing for folks. I also want to talk about affordable housing and the housing continuum. We are working on making sure that folks who are unhoused have a place to go, folks who need extra support have a place to go. Up through yesterday, we were at a groundbreaking for single-family homes in Metro Verde, where folks will have subsidized purchase mortgages that we do with a community partner, so folks can gain equity in their own home and live in the single-family life. So I'm really proud of all we've done related to housing. A few other things that I'm deeply honored to be a part of with animals. This has been my pet project, of course. And the city passed a comprehensive animal ordinance overhaul, which took several years. We built a new animal shelter thanks to GeoBond supporters across the board, and we started funding low-income spay and neuter services. Hundreds and hundreds of Las Cruces are getting their pets spayed and neutered and vaccinated as a result of city programs. So that's one of my pet projects. I was just there this afternoon doing some dog matchmaking, so hit me up later if you're in New Market. And then one of the other things that's really close to my heart is in my time on council, we've taken our municipal equality index, which relates to LGBT folks and how they're supporting the community, from a score of 73 to 96. And so I'm really proud of it.
Excellent, thank you. Tommy?
Man, I was supposed to go after that. That was good. Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Tommy Black. Of course, I didn't grow up in Las Cruces. I grew up in Dallas, Texas. So I got rid of watching the game to come up here tonight. So, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, in case you haven't noticed. Of course, I've been here since 2006. I originally came here. I've been a radio DJ at Hot 103 for the last, wow, I'm getting old, 19 years. But I've always been boots on the ground, and if you would have asked me this time last year if I was going to run for city council, the answer would have been no. I didn't want to do it because there was people too far to the left and people too far to the right. So incidents started happening in this city that made me want to go run for city council. The main one that happened was the incident that happened at Young's Park. When you have two young daughters, sometimes you put yourself in the focus of those parents that got that phone call that their kids had passed away, and it hurt my heart. One thing y'all really notice about me, always in my campaign, I do everything from my heart. You know what I'm saying? When I was in the military for 11 years, it was from my heart. When I had those soldiers over there in Saudi Arabia, I did it from my heart. So I'm going to Las Cruces to do the same thing, but I'm going to be a little different. I'm more boots on the ground. I don't like to talk about it, I like to be about it. Already things that I have done to help my kids, I put together our own team night. I don't know if you heard about it, but I was at Amador. We had free backpacks, we had free haircuts, we had free food, all for the kids, and it was absolutely free. And we had 1,200 people that walked through the door. So what I did is I showed people what we could do if we work together. I don't want to talk about it, I want to be about it. And the next thing I'm being about is also our veterans. We have so many veterans that got so many things that they can get and that they're eligible for that don't know nothing about. Because I work at the VA and I see veterans that have been in Vietnam and they've been in Korea, and also they got 0% disability, but they got cancer in their face and they went and fought over in the Korean War and the Vietnam War. So I am very, very big on my veterans. So when you see me, I'm always out talking to the kids. Actually, I was at Morgan Mountain High School today giving a motivational speech to those kids. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be always out there and working with the community, and hopefully with the great job that she's done, we can all get together and do the same thing for these kids that she's done for the homes. So hopefully I'm just looking forward to working together with different people. Thank y'all very much.
Go ahead, John.
Good evening. My name is John Munoz. I'm running for City Councilor District 6. That's the Sonoma area. So I'm running because I want to get back. I want to serve. Las Cruces has given me so much. And I too was impacted by the Yepes Park incident. And I feel I have to get involved and do more. You know, after that incident, I thought that we would be more united. We're not. We're still divided. We're still divided. Right after that, you know, I figured, well, in checking with students and checking with teachers, with parents, they're exhausted. They're exhausted because they don't have the training or the tools to handle behavioral health issues. They don't. And then fast forward to a couple weeks ago, Minnesota happened. Within hours, that issue was politicized. Why? We can do better than that. It's not a Republican issue. It's not a Democrat issue. It is not a progressive issue. It is not a conservative issue. It's a real human issue. Kids are dying. And kids are killing kids. We need to stop that. I'm running because I want to help address that in our world in Las Cruces. I know we can do better. My name is John Rios, District 6, City Council. I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, Michael, I'm going to start with you. The topic is business. So what policy would you support to bring in new business to Las Cruces and help existing businesses thrive?
Great question. So I have a lot of thoughts on economic development. A big thing that I've noticed that we tend to do in this town is not quite ignore, but almost ignore businesses that already exist in the town. And smaller businesses that provide more stable jobs, longer term employment, that are closer to the community. And instead, we're always out chasing the next Facebook or the next giant manufacturing plant or whatever. And some of that's fine. We do have to keep in mind that we live in the area we live. We've got limited resources, and you know, we want to attract businesses that are fine with that. But also, we shouldn't forget the smaller businesses in town. I've personally met with some of our economic development people, and they're like, "Hey, how can we help?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm a small business. We're pretty profitable. We want to, you know, we're sustainable. We're not growing massively. We're not really falling. But you know, we might need to hire one person, or we need to repair the roof or whatever." And they're like, "Well, we're really looking for like $1 million project. We're going to hire 10, 20 people, and like buy all this stuff or buy this huge building. So we can't really help you." And I think that's that's a pretty universal experience. I hear a lot from my fellow business community that the city is anti-business, which if you think about it for 5 seconds, is not true. The city has the rights on GRT, but there's also a lot of you know, bureaucracy issues that I think provide friction where there doesn't need to be. And we can alleviate some of that without compromising on our values. You know, we don't want to just make it super easy to pollute the environment or whatever, but we can also make less friction for some businesses in town. And the other thing I'd say is we want to really help new businesses form. There's kind of a startup scene, and that kind of comes and goes here. And you know, I think the city and the university could maybe work together to try and build up some of that base here in town, then try to import it from other places.
Okay, excellent. Isaiah, what policies would you support or implement to bring in new businesses to Las Cruces and help the existing businesses?
Well, actually, one of the policies that I want to acknowledge that's actually already passed and actually had a lot of fight and was very controversial was Realize Las Cruces. The zoning reform was a big deal and was a big, massive push in the right direction for Las Cruces, because I believe in making our neighborhoods more sustainable and bringing more equitability to these neighborhoods, allowing people to walk to these mom and pop shops, to be able to get their groceries. A lot of youth enrichment, again, like I'm running on, that brings those businesses out here into areas that we thought could not be involved in Las Cruces. Because right now, we have a lot of, our majority of our businesses are up Solano or Orchard East or also want to work on is cutting that red tape for new businesses, promoting new businesses, promoting people to actually start these businesses. Right now, the misconception of starting a new business is it's very hard. A lot of paperwork, going through a lot of different things, but it is actually very easy. So, like Michael said, partnering with the university and making sure our university students are educated in how to start a business properly and how to run it properly too as well and provide economically to our city. That is a couple of policies that I really would love to support and policies that I really would love to start. As a business owner, I believe that we are going in the right direction for businesses. And I think we can push even harder and work with local businesses to sit down and maybe create a committee too as well of local business owners to actually put our brains together, to find out what kind of policies are we missing out on, what kind of items should we be bringing to our local community, and how can we make business ownership a reality for everybody in our city and everybody in my district too as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think echoing what both Michael and Isaiah said, but adding to that, there are some things that we've really accomplished. The Metropolitan Redevelopment Area TID downtown has shown us how we can transform an historically sort of under-resourced area to a place where the economy can thrive, and I'm really excited that we've designated a number of other metropolitan redevelopment areas that give us a lot more flexibility as a city to be able to support small businesses in those spaces, along El Paseo and Solano, along West Picacho, the Amador area, the Mesquite district. So we're really thinking about how to find places, identify places where business can thrive, and then support it in ways that are new and different. But I also think there are a few things that we have to think about in this context. One of them is I've been really pushing for city staff to consider. We've been working on a nuisance abatement program, but I really want to have a conversation about commercial real estate. I think in Las Cruces it's very difficult for businesses to find up to scale, not new, and I think that there's a bit of a conflict between, in District 5 where we have 1,000 new buildings all the time versus the inner part of the city. I think it's really important that we figure out ways to support landlords who are considering having small businesses in particular, and also, as mentioned, Realize enables that in more spaces across the city, so I think that's a really critical thing. Streamlining permits, fundamentally making sure that we have utilities that support the industries that are going into those places, and that we properly fund our utilities infrastructure so that we can continue to expand and support those businesses are a few ways that I think concretely we can make a real difference. Partnering with, my day job is teaching at a community college. I agree. I think there are many folks there who would love to start a business, and supporting those industries and those spaces where people can thrive, I think is really fundamental as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, once again, I agree with everything they said, but it's one thing that always stands out to me. The first thing we need to do is make it attractive. And what I mean by that is we bring in a business owner, and every other corner has a homeless person or kids flying up and down the street. We got to just handle that first. I got this big thing that I always say, we need to water our own backyard before we worry about everybody else's backyard. I think we got so many small problems that we can handle in town before we start bringing people over. And you know what I'm saying? I know they're supposed to do the project on El Paseo, but if you drive up and down El Paseo and you drive down Valley, you see a bunch of boarded up buildings. So if you're a business owner want to come into town, would that attract you? Something made those places boarded up. So I think there's so many underlying things that we need to handle in Las Cruces, which make it so much better for us when we want to bring other people in. And I'm not speaking a negative on nobody, because I don't believe in that. But I know some of y'all been out, especially if you go up there by, let's say, Best Buy, it's a homeless person on every corner. So if once we clear that area right there, and we get that fixed a little bit more, it is so much easier to bring people to town. My daughter came to town and they scared her because she hasn't been around there before. And like I said, nothing against homeless people, but I think until we start watering our own backyard and get our roads as good, then that's going to make it more attractive when the next person wants to come in. So that's just my personal feel. And what we do, we need to concentrate on helping these small businesses. One of the things that I thought of doing is when I go to Albuquerque and you go to their hotels, they have this big shelf right there telling you all the nice stuff that's there to do in Albuquerque that you can go visit. We don't have that here. Like right now, I totally believe that the small business in this town are the essence of Las Cruces. And when people come to town, they don't say, hey, won't you show me the best of Las Cruces, and then they go to Walmart. That don't happen. They go to all these small businesses. Until we start figuring out a way to spotlight them and elevate them, it's going to be harder to bring other businesses in town.
Thank you. I think it's been said already, but let me say it again. Local business, that's our backbone. These folks are vested in our community. They're neighbors, they're our friends, they're our family. They want to be successful. And so it's important that we support them. I believe in shopping local and banking local. So two solutions, and it falls under the umbrella of infill. Okay? So there are hundreds of homes that are abandoned. I would like to work with codes and the rest of the city councilors to look at the citywide, look at our inventory, and do something with those homes. Those homes are livable. We just got to find what happened. You know, it might have been someone who passed away, didn't have any relatives, any heirs. Those homes are abandoned. There's no sense in moving and utilizing resources elsewhere to build a new home when there's a perfectly good home that's available. With that home in that area, oh, thank you. Within the, saw somebody trying to clap. The other piece would be also infill. We have empty lots in the city. Those would be a good area to build some buildings or do something, or whether it's a temporary pop-up to incubate a new business, but they're sitting there, and they should be utilized. The other piece I would like to work with or without within my district. So I'm currently the president and CEO of the Downtown Las Cruces Partnership. Our mission is to bring people downtown to the downtown districts, the merchants, the nonprofits, the museums, and to promote our culture downtown. So what would be helpful to those businesses where there are 16,000 people who work in that area. And those are more of the higher paying jobs within Las Cruces. But most of them don't, they're driving in. Wouldn't it be nice to have some housing there where those employees could walk to work, could bike to work, if they wanted to? And I think with some of those strategies, we could really push up the businesses, take care of our environment, have our, those employees save money by walking to work, by biking to work, rather than, living or driving in another, 10 or 12, 15 miles away from work.
Okay, thank you. The next questions are going to deal with, or question is with homelessness and public safety. What policies would you advocate to improve public safety in a compassionate and effective way? John, why don't you go first?
Sure. First of all, being unhoused is not right. It's absolutely awful. And hopefully some of you have seen my video. Go to my website, John Munoz, number 4, Las Cruces. John Munoz 4, Las Cruces. What I believe is two ways to handle that. One would be we've got to tackle the behavioral health issue head on. There's plenty of resources that the state has that we can go and capture some of those monies to fund what we need here in Las Cruces. One of the issues in Las Cruces that we have is a cycle. There's not enough clinics, not enough work, I think, for health care providers from a behavioral health standpoint. They get trained here, they do well, and then they go because there's not opportunities here. Yet we need that, and that's one of the most significant issues that we have. I would like to recruit clinics and grow some of our current clinics that we have here so that we have those services available to kids, parents, the providers themselves who need these services. That would be one. The other piece too is I think we need to boost up and have more robust programming for cessation. There are some of our homeless who have issues with chemical dependency. It's not enough to arrest or harass or move people up. We need to find what the core issue is, and a lot of that comes from behavioral health.
Tommy, same idea, what policies would you advocate to improve public safety in a compassionate and effective way?
Well, the first thing we have to do is not put all the homeless people in the same boat. There's different categories for these homeless people. And of course, once again, that's when it's going to have to be boots on the ground and for you to understand. Some of these guys, to be honest with you, just want to be there. Some are drug dependencies, you know what I'm saying? And some of them just have bad luck. And so we can't bottle them all together. But one thing that no one has ever really talked about is those people that have those mental problems. And we have somebody there to help them out. We got to start getting more mental health people in town, or behavior health, that can sit there and help them out. Because at the end of the day, if they're in Las Cruces, they are Las Cruces. And we're going to treat them as such. We don't treat them no different. They are still humans. Luckily enough, I had actually went down to the City Hall the other day and had a conversation with the ladies because there were some things I didn't understand, but I wanted to understand. And talking to some of the unhoused people, man, it was actually very pleasant. They was nice, they was cool, they sit there and have a conversation with you. And in my mind, I was like, what more can we do to help? And of course, the mental health kept coming up. And I have to say to those ladies that work out there, they thought I was a veteran because I had my Army shirt on. And they were trying to give me a house. And I would let them know I don't need no house. I just come out here to help. So we need to be more boots on the ground, but we also need to show more sympathy and empathy because these people are going through it. And who are we to kick these people when they're down or whatever they're going through? So if we can start getting more mental health providers and behavior health providers to go hand in hand and work with them, I think we can make that a better place and make everything better for everybody.
Thank you. And I just want to clarify this. You said public safety, right? Yes. Okay, so I just really want to contextualize this in the, as John mentioned, being unhoused is not a crime. It's just the way that we see things, right? So we can talk about homelessness in a minute, but public safety, we know that police are doing the job of social workers, need managers, moderators, making up for everything that, all of the social and emotional learning that you all talked about in the school board panel that kids might be struggling with. It comes into adults too, and the police are responding to those situations, right? So public safety in our community has a whole bunch of different aspects. One of the ways to support this is to make sure that we are sending the right responders to the right situation, and the people who are being sent are as trained as they possibly can. That includes in the city, lessening the incidence of grief, harm, and trauma. Project Light, where a team of social workers, as part of the firefighting department, co-respond with police to situations that may have people in an increased risk. I think making sure that we have enough first responders, that they're the most appropriate ones, and that we shore up the systems that they're referring people to is one of those areas. I will also say this is not a city council issue, but too many people have guns. Way too many people have guns. Our public safety officers are constantly in danger, and this is something that I will always go to the legislature to ask, but it's a really difficult environment. So I think that's another place we have to consider the risk of public safety employees and folks. And then finally, really addressing root causes. That includes the city just funded social and emotional learning through our opioid funding settlement within the LCPS. So thinking about root causes of what's going on in the community is fundamental.
And just to echo Becky, one of the biggest things I believe in is public safety. And I got to speak with LCPOA, the Police Officers Association, and not only are they trying to get paid more, but they want more funding for mental health intervention. So like what Becky said, to send the right people to these instances. Just recently there was a shooting off of Oakland. That was a mental health situation. And he needs intervention. I think actually lobbying too as well with our state legislators too as well to bring more people, bring more mental health institutes over here to help these people. Also, one big thing I visited too as well was the community of hope. The community of hope, I like to echo what everyone just said. Homelessness is not a crime. They are people too. They are people going through hard times. They are our neighbors going through hard times too as well. And what I love that the community of hope does is they have a unit actually that drives around and helps out give education to these homeless individuals to make sure that they understand that there are programs to help them out, to go over there and actually take advantage of these programs too as well. and know that the city is working for them to help provide them with homes, food, and stability too as well. I think that is a major thing that I would love to support and love to grow with a community of hope, to actually bring more positive change rather than having this negative outreach with the homeless industry. And then, thank you, 30 seconds. And the last thing that I want to say is our police officers as well, they go through a lot of scrutiny. And again, education, and training is a big thing for me. And I want to make sure that I partner with the police chief and the leaders of the police department to make sure that they're educated to handle these situations correctly.
So I'll echo what has been said about making sure that we're sending the right kinds of support to the right kinds of incidents. And I'll tell a story which makes this very personal. So we have a community meeting a few years ago, and I asked the police department when Project Light was being stood up, how do we make sure that these units are being sent to, we have an incident? And they said, we'll figure it out. So fast forward a couple of years, and I'm sitting with a friend who's having a mental health crisis. And we're sitting on the floor, and I hold up my phone, and I dial 988 on it, and put it on speaker. And it rings a few times before it gets picked up. My friend grabs the phone and hangs it up, and says, I don't want the cops to come and kill me. And, that just illustrates that there's this huge breakdown in the services that we can provide. Everyone here probably knows that the state mental health services were completely decimated many years ago. We're bringing them back up, but there's not enough. So that's a huge part, just getting our providers in, getting our alternative teams who can actually go and do stuff. And there's some concrete policies I think we can do to increase their safety and whatnot. The other half of the question was about homelessness. And straight up, homelessness is a housing problem. We just need to get people in housing. We don't necessarily have the correct housing mix right now to house everybody. We're doing a good job with these affordable housing projects. And we also need, as a city, to be able to support tenants and prevent people from becoming homeless in the first place. I have friends who've been evicted, and there are steps that we can take to intervene in that to solve the problem before it happens. So, thanks.
Well, that sort of leads to my next question, which is, would you support, or what would you support in zoning reforms to allow more flexible, lower-cost housing types as part of a solution to both poverty and the unhoused? Any specific type of housing you'd be advocating?
I'm a huge fan of all kinds of housing. Realize Las Cruces was frankly what spurred me into ultimately running here. It got me involved, going to city council meetings, seeing people advocating for it. Wonderful. And I really want to carry that momentum forward with all kinds of different housing options. We really need starter homes again. We have very few options for people just trying to buy their first house. I was able to buy my first house, 8 years ago or so. It was relatively inexpensive. It's small, manageable. Before I realized you couldn't actually build that house again. And now we can. I think that we can look at alternative housing solutions like tiny houses. There's this concept of a tiny house court where you have a bunch of them all together in a little community. I don't want to push anybody into a specific kind of housing. Like, I don't want to look at tiny houses as like, okay, we'll put all the homeless people there. And they don't deserve a full-size house. There are people who want to live there, and there are people who don't. And I think if we have enough options, then everyone can find a place where they belong and where they can home.
To echo Michael, realized Las Cruces was a big push forward. I loved it. It was amazing. As a realtor too as well, most people were shocked that as a realtor I love realized Las Cruces because the argument was property values were dropping down and everybody was worried about that. That is not the case. It allows us to provide affordable housing for our neighbors. which I am totally for, and I love it. The type of housing that I would support is a multitude of housing. I would love multifamily, to bring affordable multifamily housing to this community, to our communities everywhere. And what I would do is partner with developers, because I think I can reach out to a lot of developers who would be interested in projects like this. And I'm also lobbying with state legislators to make sure we have the funds to fund these types of projects. For example, the city just received $11 million to go forward with Arcadia. The subdivision, the single-family subdivision that is made program yesterday, like Becky said. It's an amazing process because I don't know if everyone knows, but the average median house price here in Las Cruces is $300,000, which is very, very hard to afford just for the main median earner in Las Cruces. That is unacceptable. Providing housing that is affordable for everybody is the key to this. And again, like Michael had echoed too, or I want to echo Michael, it is a housing issue. We don't have enough homes. We don't have enough affordable homes. So I want to work to get that done.
Great, Becky? Thank you. Yes, just to reiterate, realize huge. It allows for up to quadplexes on individual lots, so every person can do that. It also reduces the requirements for developers who want to build any kind of multifamily housing developments. And for me, that's really important because, to be perfectly honest, there's one thing no one has ever said when they came to City Council, and that was, yes, please put a low-income housing apartment complex in my neighborhood. And I'll tell you, we're putting low-income housing apartment complexes in everyone's neighborhood. I'm coming for you, sorry. I'm a hardcore NIMBY person, and I think that it's really important that we understand that for a while we kind of limited the number of ways that we could build housing. And we also allowed a very proprietary kind of gentrified version of development in our city, and not nationwide. This was a trend, but now we have the tools to do that differently. I do think partnering with external developments is really powerful. We just worked with the state land office to swap to build within the city limits 4,000 more homes along a road that we got a federal grant for that I'm really proud that we've advocated for. 40% of those 4,000 places will be either affordable or attainable housing for people up to 100. So we are committed to this, and every person does deserve a home with respect and potentially to build equity, although we're in danger with our houses being our only source of saving money. I'm afraid, but that is the American way, and I think pathways to that, pathways to accessible, ADUs in people's backyards, granny flats. I've lived my whole life in townhouses or casitas. I've never lived, duplexes, townhouses or casitas. I've never lived in a home except very briefly by itself. So I think every level of, I have 2 jobs and I couldn't buy a home in my district now today. So I really appreciate hearing that my colleagues are committed to carrying this forward.
Tommy?
Well, once again, like everybody else, I'm going to echo everything that everybody said. When I first realized I had no idea, and then now I'm seeing all these houses grow up, and I'm actually happy that people have a roof over their head. But I guess I think I'm a little different, so if I go off key, y'all can bring me back. If we're building this many low-income housing, isn't that saying something about our job market? I mean, we're actually making it where people have to have low-income housing. So what if we started thinking different and saying we can bring jobs in here where people can have attainable housing? You know what I'm saying? Because right now, even if somebody lives in a low-income apartment and something happens to them, that can't go down to their kid. The kid got to get out. So I think we need to start changing the way we think. And I love affordable housing. I'm never going to knock that. But I would also love if we can give people some jobs in this town where they don't have to have affordable housing and they can get the housing that they want. So like I said, to me, it's a double-edged sword. I thought the work they put into Las Cruces was amazing. I saw the groundbreaking. I thought that was amazing. I had a smile on my face. But I want to think a little different and start thinking bigger to the future. We need to start getting people jobs where they don't have to really be honestly rely on low-income homes, affordable homes, and that's not knocking them or anything nobody else did. It's just to me, I want to think different and I want to think forward. And I just really wish we could get people jobs. Well, we don't have to build this many low-income homes. So that's my take on it.
John?
You know, we all have different stories as to why we want to get into a house, if we want to get into a house, or why we lose a house. I remember when COVID hit, my boys and I, we it was this long sort of work to get a temporary unhoused shelter. And there were so many stories there. We had some successes, we had some failures, we had some disappointments. I remember a mom and her daughter, probably 22, who had been through some trauma, could not look at you in the eye, was behind her mom. We got her some help, we got the mom help. We did things that, we had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we would go to work, and then it was our second job, work like till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. One day we had a picnic, and my guys were like, "Well, are we going to cater in, burgers and stuff?" I'm like, "No, we're going to grill them ourselves." I'm like, "Why?" Because we're going to grill them and just make it like a family picnic. I saw that young lady just kind of blossom and come out of her shell and say, "John, this feels so normal, like I'm having a picnic in my backyard." And that just made me feel so good that it was worth it. Those late nights, waking up at 6, going to my job, then doing that volunteer work, working till 2 o'clock in the morning, taking a nap, and then going back to work, made it worth it. We can work in Las Cruces with developers, with realtors, to make homes affordable. There's different ways, different strategies. One, could we look at those who want gas, fine. Those, if you electrify your house and make it efficient, that should be less because you don't have to worry about the infrastructure. Some of those houses can have heat pumps, right? And so there's ways to make those homes more affordable. Infill, we can give incentives. Again, back to the infill, there's some homes that are abandoned. If a couple or family or single parent is willing to get into that house, maybe as a city, we can afford to provide incentives to make that happen.
Okay, excellent. We talked about some pretty heady subjects, and we've got maybe about 5-6 minutes left. What I want to ask you is, what brings you the joy of Las Cruces? I mean, we've got an awesome area, and we want to build upon that and bring the joy back, because these are some pretty heady topics that we've had to talk about. So, Michael, you want to start?
Sure. So, other than the beautiful skies, looking out from my driveway when I come home at night and the sunset is just gorgeous. That brings a lot of joy. And the other thing that it gives me hope is that we're a small community. We have a lot of people who care about our community. Everyone in this room is here because we care about the community. And I think we're in kind of this unique little oasis, and we can really shape our own future. And I think we all want what's best. Just getting out and being around people. I had the opportunity to go through the farmers market this weekend after the Labor Day event. It's great just to see people out and doing stuff and hanging out. And I'd like to see more of that in the community. If we can make our neighborhoods more walkable, make it easier for people to go outside and just kind of get out and share their community with their neighbors, that brings me a lot of happiness.
Excellent.
Well, 2 minutes is not enough time. I do this for a living. I love to talk about Las Cruces. It is my home. One thing that really brings me joy is the sense of gathering. Us as Las Crucians, we can gather, we can party, and we can have fun too as well. And I love that. I love being able to gather my family and enjoy our community and talk with everybody. You can't go to Walmart without seeing a neighbor. It's insane. And I love that. I love speaking with community members, and that brings me joy. It's just being able to gather and enjoy everything that our community brings. The sunsets, like Michael had said, our teams that we have, the all together is also a retirement community where everybody can enjoy the walking trails, everybody can enjoy the biking trails too as well. And I love that our city council is making that more accessible for our retirees too as well. It's also a veteran community. We have a lot of veterans in our community. That brings me joy. When my grandfather was alive, I mean, he had such a sense of gathering with his fellow comrades, which was amazing to me. And he taught me and instilled in me that it takes a community to build joy in that city. And he, I mean, I'm going to get jerked up here because he just passed away. He instilled that we need to spread the love. And I feel like our community does that. And that's a big thing in my family, spreading love. So, and I feel like our community does that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to pass, so those of you who aren't cool with that, cover your ears, please. We are at church, but I think they can take it. This year, I won an award called Badass of the Year from Equality New Mexico. I'm very proud of that award. And so I say that as a person who is deeply qualified to say this. It's fucking badass humans. Many of them are in this room, honestly, making an extraordinary difference, as you mentioned, in their community. People who are out there trapping cats. People who are out there giving trans folks a safe place to be on Saturday afternoons. People who are out there teaching kids reading with kids all of the weird books like, I think I read Atlas Shrugged when I was like 12. Who was doing that? And also it didn't work. So I just want to say that humans here who care about other humans is so powerful, and I see you, and I so appreciate being in community with those folks. So that's what makes Las Cruces great.
Well, I remember when I first moved here, and there was this thing called, I guess, the Great Enchilada. I think that was it. The whole enchilada. And the joy, I had no idea. You know, I'm from Dallas, Texas. We didn't do that many enchiladas. We had a bunch of fried chicken, but we didn't do a whole bunch of enchiladas. And just to see the joy on the people's faces and the kids on the people's faces, and people just genuinely having good conversations it meant the world to me. Because in Dallas, we're very standoffish. You know, I don't know you, I'm really not speaking to you. But Las Cruces was never like that, man. We go there and we talk, and people start teaching me Spanish, even though I failed. But they tried, and they accepted me. You know what I'm saying? Since I was an outsider, they accepted me. And now, the beauty of it is I get to give back because they accepted me, and they love what we do. You know, when we go out in the community and everything to me, that makes me smile. So I'm trying to turn this place into a place that one day when my daughter come around and it's her turn to be, you know, Tommy Black, that she can come here and feel safe and wanted and appreciated just like I do. So I'm saying thank you, Las Cruces.
You know, one of the things that I like about Las Cruces is how friendly we are here. In the last 26 months or so, I hired about 198 CNAs, nurses, customer service agents, technical support. And we have visitors from all over the country come by. And so we do a good tour right there at Democratic Caregiver down on Main Street. And the comment usually is, gosh, your folks are so happy. They're so friendly. And you feel that throughout the city. My wife is from Italy. We had a friend of ours from Rome visiting. She's a colonel in the Italian Royal Air Force, in line to be the first female general in the Air Force in Italy. So we're continue to push her and support her. And she said, "Wow, downtown is kind of neat. I really like it." So I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is coming from someone who lives in Rome, one of the most amazing cities in the world." She said, "I don't know, I just like it. It's kind of cozy." I said, "Wow, can you say that in English?" And I want to put that on tape. And she's Italian, obviously, she's fluent Italian. Well, she speaks English, she does, well enough. But I like the friendliness, and that goes to, you know, where I think we can do better together. We can talk to each other. We can try to figure out some of these issues. Not everyone's going to listen, not everyone's going to agree, but I think I manage tens of thousands of employees from all walks of life. I don't like the melting pot because we lose our identity. I like more of the example of the salad. Different shades, different flavors, but together we make something great. And that was my employee base. And I think we can still do that in Las Cruces. I still think that we can work together and solve some of these hard issues and continue to work on other aspirational goals that we want to attain together.
Excellent. Round of applause for our panel. Thank you very much. Thank you. Just a reminder, our next general meeting is September 14th, Sunday from 2 to 3:30. So thank you all for staying around and listening to all of our panelists. Thank you.